Welcome to the Babbles Nonsense podcast, where I'm your host, Jonna Grimes, and we're here to discuss any and all things, but especially the shit that I want to talk about. Because let's face it, I have a lot of shit to say, and after all, you are listening to my verbal diary. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Babbles Nonsense podcast, guys. I'm so glad if you are listening, and if you're not, what the hell are you doing with your life? Anyways, I have my good friend Ivy here with me. She is a practitioner in the No, she is not a practitioner in the ER. What the fuck am I talking about? She is a practitioner in the hospital, but she also works in the ER just adjacent to me at the place that shall remain nameless. Anyways, we are here today just to have a casual conversation. Her kids are back in daycare and school because hello, quarantine, and she's a mom, a wife, a friend, a daughter. She does it all, and don't know how she does it because obviously I'm not married and don't have any kids. So I try to give her advice on marriage and kids, which is pretty laughable because she's like, bitch, you don't know. And you're right, I don't know. But anyways, what's up, Ivy?
Hi. I take it with a grain of salt.
Anything I say, anyone should take with a grain of salt because I'm just here to babble, as you know. But we're just going to, she was coming over anyways because to hang out. And I was like, you know what? We're going to podcast. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, well, I need some content for the pod so we can have our normal conversation with some mimosas and you can just let it all out there.
Now we're 3 deep. We're going in.
Going into the pod. So if anything's offensive, going to go ahead and apologize now. It just is what it is, guys. And if I'm being very loud, also apologize because I'm loud and my mic is too close to my face. Have a new setup I'm trying to figure out. Can't wait to get the home office set up so I can put all my podcasting equipment in there because that currently sitting in our dining room, literally the first time I've ever sat at my dining room table though. You're the first person at my dining room table.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, my friend Jonathan made it, so shout out to J Ford Woodworks. So if you want anything custom built, hit him up on the gram. And she's looking currently at these cool little coasters and this serving tray that I have sitting out on the table that my sister made. So if you want anything custom made, they're pretty cool. So when this podcast launches, I will post a picture of those beautiful little glittery gold black designs that my sister made. And I'm pretty sure it's Lindsay's Unique Creations, but let me double check that because I don't want to tell y'all wrong. Hold up 2 seconds. Yes, it's Lindsay's Unique Creations. So that's Linz and then Unique Creations. Anyways, so Ivy, I have a topic I want to talk to you about. First of all, it's kind of friendships because you know I'm a little bit difficult as a friend.
A little bit. Just kidding. Not when you get to know you.
It's true, guys. If you do know me, you know I'm difficult. But I'm also, if you know me, 100% a good friend.
Yes.
That's something I will always. I'm not very narcissistic at all, nor do I have any confidence. But that's one thing you will not take away from me is my friendships. I give everything and anything to my friendships because I did not grow up from a great background, nor was I given things like love from the family. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this. But that's for another conversation. But I think what sparked this conversation was a couple of days ago, I had another issue with a high school friend. And I wouldn't say issue. This is my issues. And it's more of, I think I have expectations on my friendships that are a bit much.
No, I mean, I don't think they are, honestly, because and you'll reach out. You tell me when, if we're not hanging out enough or whatever. It doesn't come across like that. But yeah, it is difficult because everybody, both adults have 2 separate lives. So,
everyone has 2 separate lives. And I think that where the disconnect is I'm the only single one in my friend group.
Yeah.
So like Ivy, she's married. She's got 2 children. And most of my friends, they're either married in long-term relationships, engaged, or have children. I'm the last of my friend group that is single with no children. So I have a lot of time on my hands. So I get that I have more time to reach out to my friends where they may not. And they're their perception of life and whatever is different. They have dinner to cook and they have shit going on where I have nothing going on. So clearly, but at some point I feel like someone has to realize, like, I still want that attention too. Like, I still want people to reach out too. Like, I could be dead over here and no one know. Not gonna lie, thought about it 100 times. I have a little dog, Cricket. She could be licking my dead carcass. No one would fucking know except work, because they'd be like, where's that bitch?
Yes. Until you get cold.
Until I get cold. At least it's not a cat who would eat you.
Yes. They recycle.
So nasty.
But you're not the one. You don't want my rambunctious kids tearing up your gorgeous house. So
First
there's
of all,
that.
House isn't gorgeous.
House is gorgeous.
It's average.
Above average. But
Whatever. Your house is bigger than mine. What are you talking about?
above average.
She's whispering and she realizes that no one can hear her. Whispering. Anyways. So before we dive into a friendship conversation, little background, Ivy. How was your high school years?
Oh my God, she went there. Like,
I
seriously,
went
that
to
came
high
out of
school.
left
Who
field.
were you in high school? Were you the same person you
Oh.
are today?
No, not one bit.
Really?
Extremely,
Emo.
yes.
Really?
Goth, emo, wannabe, sort of
Can
hippie,
totally see it.
Jinko jeans, chunky buck teeth,
No, you did not
a
have no chunky
mohawk.
butt teeth.
I shaved my head into a mohawk.
Do you have pictures of you shaving your...
Do have pictures
Oh.
somewhere.
My God. No, you did not shave
She
your
is just learning this right now because she went off into left field, people. This is not scripted.
Not scripted. Totally like to catch people off guard. Because I also was not who I am in high school. Everyone hated me. First of all, I was freaking ugly. Had thin ass lips. Everyone has told me that I don't look the same in high school because, hello, filler upgrade.
I mean,
I have lips now and eyebrows. Those are
fine.
two things that shape your face. Shout out to Dr. DeGraff. Thank you for my lips. We have monies now.
I mean,
Just kidding. I'm actually fucking broke as hell because I bought a house. So if anybody wants to sponsor this podcast, go ahead and reach out. babblesnonsense@gmail.com. People I would like to sponsor me. Number 1, Prosecco, L'America.
yes.
Number 2, an orange juice company to make a mimosa. Number 3, Low Bospers, Love Wellness Supplement Company. Number 4, Living Proof Shampoo.
There we go.
Okay, that's all I got for now. Go ahead.
Wish list.
How were you in high school?
Oh, horrible. Lazy.
Were you a good student?
No, actually. No, I think I actually somehow graduated early. Don't look into my transcripts. My high school, local high school. Please don't do that.
Graduated early?
Somehow. I honest to God, don't know how. Graduated in December.
Instead of
Somehow
May,
early.
like
Mhm.
normal? Okay.
Instead of the next May. Yep. I really don't know how because I was in the bottom 10% of my class.
No, you weren't.
I promise you I was. I
You're the
swear to God, we
smartest
should have my
person I know.
mom
What are you
on
talking
the
about?
podcast. I promise you. Failed out of the local community college. Ran away to Washington, D.C. to stalk my current husband, who did not want anything to do with me at the time and lived there worked all kinds of odd jobs and
Wait a
lived on.
minute.
Oh, I swear, this is not.
So you moved?
Uh.
Well, not moved. Ran away. To
Relocated.
Washington, D.C.
Yes.
How old were you?
17.
And you stalked your current husband now.
Yes.
How
It
did
gets
that go for you?
juicy. Not well.
What did he do? What did he say?
I actually-
how did
he-
you approach him when you went to Washington? How did that happen?
I don't really recall. But I lived with him for a while in his rented room in, is it Falls Church, Virginia?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Back up.
It gets juicy.
So did he like post, I need a roommate somewhere, and you just applied?
The internet was not a thing.
Oh yeah, you're
No,
right.
I'm pretty
It
sure
wasn't.
I must have
How
called
did you
or
find out that
something.
he needed a roommate? And
He
how did
didn't.
Oh my God. I'm so confused. How the hell?
It's like an onion, a terrible onion.
So you went to, what did he say when he saw you in Washington?
I don't remember any of the conversation leading up to this. I swear
Was he
to
like,
God.
what the fuck are you doing here?
Maybe
Because
if
let me
he
tell
did,
you,
he
when I
didn't.
followed my ex to Huntsville, he was not happy about it. Not happy about it. We ain't together. We ain't married. He actually hates my guts. So, same situation, different outcome.
Yeah, it was all a blur. I guess I just must have called him and been like, hey, I'm going to Washington, D.C. with no money in a car. Okay.
But you did it for him.
Basically, low key without him being a willing party.
That's hilarious. But it worked out for you. You're married.
It did.
With 2 children now.
How many years later? I don't know. But
How long have y'all been together?
oh, it was wild. We have been married 7 years.
But
He did
obviously
his-
together, or you liked him.
Yes, but he did not want anything to do with me. I basically imparted myself on his one room that he rented in a house in Falls Church, Virginia.
That's awesome. But so you said you were 17 when that happened.
Absolutely.
And so you're
35.
35 now.
We did our own thing. I don't know.
15
Everything was a
years.
blur. And I don't know. It was an absolute blur.
Have
I'm
y'all
not.
talked about that since?
Oh, we don't really bring it up. It's unnecessary. He did his own thing. Like, he squatted all around Europe, and I went to the
really?
military, and we did our own things.
Oh, we're having your husband on this podcast. He squatted in Europe.
He did.
That is fucking cool.
You would never know by looking at him. A 41-year-old
He's
male.
41?
He's old. Yes, he's 41.
He's not old. Don't say he's old.
Beautiful. But what I'm saying
does
is,
not
like,
look 41, first of all, is why I was shocked.
no, he does not. But we did our own things, and then my brother found him, or he found my brother on Facebook, I think, or somewhere on the internet, and then that's how we got back in contact, and then the rest is history.
Speaking of your brother.
But for the record, I stalked my husband in Washington, D.C., and then years later, we found each other again.
Okay, wait. Okay, so you stalked your brother, not your brother. You stalked your husband, now husband, when you were 17. When did you marry?
Let's see. In 2013, December. So we're maybe 10 years later. Yes, 10 years later.
Really?
Yes.
So I still have hope with my ex.
Yes. But
No,
don't do that.
I'm
Don't do
just
it.
kidding,
Don't do
guys.
it, girl.
That was a joke.
Don't do
that
it, girl.
was a joke for everyone listening. It was a joke.
Yes.
If you could see my face, it was.
Yeah,
anyways.
it's a definite joke. It's time. She took the trash out. Don't worry.
So, you have a brother?
Not anymore.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, I'm like to be transparent about this. I guess I'll always have a brother, but I do not. He died. He overdosed. He was
I'm so
addicted
sorry.
to drugs and pills, unfortunately.
Okay, so how old were you when he died?
Let's see. He was 24, so I was probably 27.
Oh, okay, so this was a while ago, but still, were you and your brother close? Were y'all like, okay, so y'all were like best friends?
Extremely close. Like, I guess we were every typical brother and sister. Like, exactly how to get on your...
I think that's funny that you say typical because what's not typical, well, I don't have a typical relationship with my brothers and sisters. So I have one biological sister, and I have one stepsister and 2 stepbrothers and 3 half brothers. Honestly, never met my 3 half brothers. They were my dad's kids with another woman, and they're into drugs and everything. Don't really know them. But me and my biological sister, we're starting to try to build a relationship now in my 30s. But for most of my life, she has not been there. She beat me up, honestly beat me up most of my life. And she did call me a lot of names, like ugly, fat, all this stuff. And she'll tell you this to this day. Like, we've talked about it. So we're on good terms now. We've talked about everything that happened in the past. But so I think it's funny when people say typical, because I also have a best friend that her sister is her best friend. And I'm jealous of their relationship because I don't understand it.
I can see
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Because now I think that it's the opposite for me. Whereas I would say we had a typical sibling relationship. I am jealous of now people's still sibling relationships because it's something that I will never have.
Well, I can be your
That's
sister,
deep.
sibling.
You can.
No, that's sad, and I'm sorry that happened.
It is.
Do you do any advocacy with, or have you thought about doing any advocacy with like drug rehab or overdose or situations like that? Have you ever thought about that?
That's deep. I've only been able to go to one or two of the, oh my gosh, Not One More Alabama organization, which I find to be amazing. I haven't delved deeply into it. I did for sure one of the walks with both of my kids. And they know all about Uncle Aaron, which I think is very healthy.
I think that's great that you are very transparent with your children too. Because how old are your kids?
Let's see, 3 and 6. So
that's amazing that you're transparent with them and not trying to sugarcoat things that aren't real in real life.
I think, yes, because
I think that's what causes problems.
It does. When you bury something, it will come forth. And I think like when Aaron died initially, it was 2012. So okay. I was in my first semester of nursing school, and like back then I don't think there was the advocacy, there was shame, there was embarrassment. When you had a loved one overdose and die from drugs. People didn't
reach out like they are today.
No, they reached out in the sense like coming together. They amazing support for my family, but yeah, there was always that embarrassment. Like, how did your brother die?
Community, like if people found out, then you were not good enough, or I don't know if that's saying the right thing, but more so. Back then, it was like you said, like an embarrassment, a shame thing. Like no one wanted to tell anyone, but now people will tell you all their issues.
Yes.
Like this whole, there's so much positivity movement now. Like, let's be transparent. Let's talk about body shaming. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about, which is amazing.
It is.
I wish it could have been always that way, because people won't tell you anything because they don't want the world to know. They're like, oh God, if people find out about this, then I'm done.
True. Yeah, I wish, so that positivity movement or that assistance, that like community would have existed. I can't say I strongly doubt that the outcome would have been different. Not that I would have had it any other way, honestly, because I don't know how many listeners have had this in their lives, but it is horrific. And I don't know that the outcome would have been different, because I always say that he would have been one that would have exhausted my parents' retirement savings. He would have exhausted all the love that we had left in our family. He would have worn it out and then finally ended up in prison and or dead. Okay. So I don't know that the outcome would have been different, but we can hope maybe, because there are so many more outlets.
So being a nurse practitioner and knowing medical side of it, do you think that drug and alcohol addiction is inherited, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Genetic.
A medical thing, like it's actually like a mental thing, a medical condition versus I choose this?
Yes, I think there are components. It's a mixed bag. It's a plethora of multifactorial issues, but yes, I think there is the genetic component. I think there is the predisposition.
I agree with you, because there's a lot of alcoholism in my family, and my grandmother was an alcoholic. Love my grandmother. She was fun, but she was an alcoholic. My mom will tell you that. My sister will talk to you, and hopefully she'll be on my podcast one day, and, me and her can talk about our past, but she went through a little alcohol. She will always be an alcoholic. Once you're an alcoholic, you'll always be an alcoholic, and she'll tell you that. Like, initially, she never admitted that, but recently she's actually been like, I loved alcohol. It made me feel better. I was always depressed. It made me feel better. And I've never struggled with that, thankfully. I can see the addiction component, because when I do drink, I feel better. Like, I feel like I can talk to anyone, or because I do suffer from social anxiety. So like if I go out in public or whatever, I'm like, oh, I need a cocktail, whatever.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I have this other health component that I'm like, well, alcohol is not the best for you. It's not the greatest for your body. It makes you gain weight. So that's stronger in me.
That's your addictions. Thankfully, your addiction is to health.
But addiction's addiction, right? So I'm addicted to health and fitness in the gym. And I have my own story with body positivity movement, which hopefully I'll dive deeper into, which I probably will when my friend Olivia is on the podcast, because she is also into health and fitness and stuff, and I can maybe tell my backstory, because actually a lot of people don't know about it. I don't even know if you know about it. And it's a wild one, and it's hard for me to open up about that, because it's hard. It's hard. But anyways, I digress. So everyone has their stories. Obviously, we just said, like, my addiction's the gym. Your brother's addiction was drugs. Do you have an addiction? Like, do you feel like you're addicted to anything?
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah, like, I mean, everyone has an addiction to something, whether it be what society tells you is good versus what. That's another thing. Like, what is normal? Like, why do we say this is not normal versus that's not normal? And this is not an original idea. I just read a very fantastic book. It's called The Black Friend by Frederick Joseph. Amazing book. And he even put this in his book, like, what is normal? Why do we say that one thing's normal versus not another thing? You know?
That's true. What is our control and what is our experiment? I don't know. What makes something better than something else, as in normal, which we equate to being better than.
Exactly. And obviously in his book, he talks about, white people saying that our side is normal. Why is our side normal? Because other cultures think that their stuff is normal. And then we find it weird because it's not our norm.
This is getting too deep.
But there's no normal. Like, there's no normalcy. Like, we have to get rid of the idea of normalcy and just accept that everyone has their own normalcy and just accept it. And then we can all just hopefully get along. But that's another story that I'm going to talk about with Tasha. So, what is your addiction? What do you think that you're addicted to? Do you have an addiction?
Probably. That's a heavy topic.
Have you ever thought about it? Because I know my addiction is the gym. Like, if I don't go to the gym, I have withdrawals, or I have a depression mode, or I have some kind of bad outcome. Not an outcome, but
I don't know. I don't think anymore. No, maybe it's having.
When you say anymore, did you have an addiction?
Probably. I think before kids, when I was not married and not, before I had kids and I was married, I did enjoy going to the gym. I did I think taking care of myself and being selfish was my addiction. And that felt really great.
Okay.
I don't know that I have one now. Maybe it's the perceived normalcy of being everything in its place, or being off of work and, having XYZ done, or I don't know.
Some people are addicted to food.
That's probably my addiction, and I just happen to not be 600 pounds. That probably is my addiction.
You are not addicted to food. I don't ever see you eat at all.
I mean, that could be. I don't know. Maybe my brother got all of the the addictive qualities, which is terrible, and maybe I absorbed none of it. I don't know.
So
maybe being in control. I don't know, but
going back to your brother, do you think that it took away anything from you? Do you think that you would have been a different person if he were still alive today? Do you think that these are a lot of questions? I should probably let you answer one.
That's deep.
Sorry. Do you think that it took something from you?
Yes. I think now, I would say it took me to get to this point to realize that a large chunk is missing, and not to sound cliche, but I don't think you ever get it back. But perhaps you have to healthily fill it with something else. For sure, I absolutely think it took. I assume that I would be a different person, because you have to build up around that, and I think you choose, with any loss, where you are going to go from there.
You're right.
That's deep, but yeah.
So I don't know if we've talked about this, because me and Ivy haven't been friends long. I don't even know if we've been friends a year yet. Mm-hmm. So she doesn't know a lot about my past. So this podcast is a great shock factor. Her face, guys, I wish y'all could see it. But did you know my dad died when I was 10?
No.
So my dad died when I was 10, guys. And I don't take that lightly, and I don't mean to laugh, but my dad wasn't the best guy at all. He was addicted to alcohol. He cheated on my mom all the time. He didn't want to marry her until she met my stepdad. She was in a relationship with him for 12 years, probably why I've got my addiction to my ex-boyfriend. Sorry, just kidding. Not an addiction. I don't mean to give him a lot of credit. I'm trying to make light of it because it's funny. Yeah. And eventually I'll probably talk about my past. And I'm sure if he ever listens to this podcast, he'll be very angry. But sorry. Anyways. No, my dad, he was about himself. He was just very selfish, narcissistic, went out to bars a lot, cheated on my mom a lot. And so I was 10 when he passed away. And I don't want to say I have psychic abilities because I don't feel like I do, but I have a very strong intuition. And I think that's what makes me a great ER nurse, because I just feel something. And even with my friends, like if something bad is about to happen, like I feel it.
Yeah.
I know y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but anyways, so my friend Samantha, who was one of my best friends, was spending the night with me the night that my dad passed away. I was supposed to spend the night with him, but I didn't want to because I didn't care about my dad. Like I was obsessed with my mom, loved my mom, sided with my mom, and I have a great memory. I remember him beating her up and things like that, very physically involved. And my sister was in trouble a lot, and my sister kind of sided with my dad more than my mom. And it was Easter Sunday, remember that. And my sister was in trouble, so she couldn't go see him. I told him, the last thing I remember on a conversation, he was like, so you're not going to come visit me? And I was like, no, I hate you. Like, no, not coming to see you. So I was like, my friend Samantha's coming in, hanging out. We're spending the night. So I remember we were up late because we like to sneak up and stay up and watch Jerry Springer because it was all the rage, like all the drama. So we were up late. It was like midnight. Watching Jerry Springer on our pull-out couch in the living room. And I remember looking, like, we were like, okay, let's go to bed. So we went to bed, and it was like 1:30. And I remember waking up out of sleep going, oh my God. She was like, and I was like, Samantha, wake up. She was like, what's wrong? And I said, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And she was like, no, what's wrong? And I was like, I heard a loud crash. You didn't hear that? And she was like, no. She was like, go back to sleep. You're just hearing things. So I went back to sleep. And my mom called me and my sister into the room the next day, into my bedroom. Samantha was still there in the living room. And she was like, hey, girls, I need you to come in here. I need to talk to y'all for a second. Before my mom could say anything, my mom wasn't crying. Before she could say anything, I said, Dad died, didn't he? And she was like, what? And I said, Dad died, didn't he? And she was like, yeah. My dad died in a car crash at 2 a.m.
Oh, no.
But hurt, and that it's weird because I was asking my friend Samantha, I was like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? It sounded like a car crash. And then I even said it before my mom said, I was 10. I was 10 years old. And when we went to his funeral, his mom and his girlfriend at the time said it was my fault that he died because I was supposed to spend the night with him. And if I spent the night with him, he wouldn't have been in a bar that night. Mm-hmm. So as a 10-year-old, you know, what do you say to that?
You don't, because you're a child, so
you're a child.
You internalized it.
But, obviously I've been to therapy since, guys.
Yeah.
Been to therapy, and everyone always asks me, well, how did that make you feel? Like, I still don't feel like I feel bad. Like, so my mom met my stepdad when I was 6 years old. So obviously he's been my stepdad 4 years when my dad died. He's been a great dad. Like, I don't feel like I've missed a beat. Like, my stepdad is the man that you want in your life. Like, he fixes everything. He took in my mom. They went on a blind date and were married 6 weeks later. 6 weeks, wow. Went on a blind date, married 6 weeks later. That does not happen anymore. No. My stepdad is a jack of all trades. Like, he can fix anything. He's an electrician, a plumber. He can work on your car. They just do. I mean, obviously he's a man of few words, but he can do anything. Like, he's hands-on. He'll take care of his family. He'll take on 5, 6, 7 jobs. Completely opposite of my dad. So yeah, long story short, took over that conversation. But yeah, I have a dad who was addicted to alcohol too, and I was 10 when I lost my dad, and I know a lot of people don't know about that because I don't talk about it, and I don't know if it. Apparently, my therapists say that it affected me. Don't know if it does because I don't think it does. Sorry, I know that's so gruesome, guys. And Ivy's laughing at me. She has the microphone pulled away from her face, but she's laughing at me.
Yep, gruesome makes us laugh in case anybody's, turned off.
And I think it's just a self-defense mechanism. We just laugh and we're kind of weirded out about things. Just being, because I mean, I'm not going to call you an ER nurse, but basically you work in the ER with us. So yeah, we just laugh because that's just our self-defense mechanism.
It is. Like, the darker, the funnier.
Do you have any weird stories like that? Like, am I weird in the fact that I premonice that?
No. I'm kind of glad I'm glad you brought that up first because, I mean, this is weird as well. Like, here back to, my brother died, boo-hoo. But like, okay, so my brother died and I get, like when you're incensed or encapsulated in grief, maybe you internalize it. I don't have a description for it, but in some different way, but also had the same experience where like I dreamt about my brother, and we were in this large house with like a big staircase and a piano, and I hugged him, and I can still remember it. Not to get all, Jerry Springer psychic on people, because that's creepy and gross.
First of all, Jerry Springer was not psychic.
That was quality TV. But like, I don't know, it was so strange because I don't know how many, it wasn't too many months after he died. And I must have, I really don't know, I don't know. But I dreamt of him, and I hugged him, and he was how he was, which was like, it felt like his body, like muscle, skin, and bones. And I hugged him, and he told me that I had to let him go.
So you said it was a couple months after he passed. So were you having a hard time with his death?
I think a very hard time. But then again, at the same time, I think I internalized a lot of it because I was in nursing school. And so you can either choose to go both ways, which I've thought about a lot. Like, I could have chose to just defervesce in my grief, but I chose the opposite, which was to internalize it and keep moving forward and, whatever, right? You have to graduate, right? So yeah, you have to move on.
Yeah.
You can either choose. Yeah.
So we say that, but
we do.
Death is obviously hard. I did not mean for this podcast to take this turn. It was supposed to be about friendship, and now we're talking about death. So hopefully we're not depressing anyone. But like, it's weird because when my grandmother, who was my driving force in life, because she was, again, I said an alcoholic, so she always told me I was beautiful, probably because she was an alcoholic and drunk all the time. She died when I was 15.
That's not funny.
It is. It's funny. She died when I was 15, and the day before she died, I had a dream, weird ass dream. It's not funny. So I was in like this hospital. I was 15 years old. We were in this hospital. She was on like a gurney, and a sheet was over her. So obviously I didn't know it was her. And I pulled the sheet back, and it was her. And she sat up and chased me through the hospital.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Weird ass shit. I was like, so she was dead on this gurney chasing me through the hospital, right? So I woke up the next morning. I answered the phone, trying to get ready for school. Answered the phone. The fire department was like, hey, is your mother there? I need to talk to your mother. And I handed the phone to Mom. I said, hey, Mom, it's the fire department. I think something's wrong with Granny. I think she died. Fire department didn't say nothing to me. Nothing to me. And my mom was like looking at me kind of like, what? Mom gets off the phone and is like, there's been a fire. So my grandmother was very hard of hearing, and insurance still doesn't think that hearing disability is a reason to have a hearing aid. And my grandmother didn't have a lot of money, so she couldn't buy a hearing aid. So this sounds awful. Someone set her house on fire, and they said it's been investigated. Someone set her house on fire, and the fire was started in the living room, and it obviously went back to her bedroom. And the neighbors saw the fire, and they went to her bedroom window and was telling her like, "Hey, Gail, wake up! Like there's a fire." But she was deaf. She was deaf. She died in a fire, but so I'm deathly terrified of fire. So people think that I have an OCD now, like that I can't remember. Like I remember turning stuff off, but I have like a fear that a ghost is gonna pop up. Like if I turn my story down and off, I'm like, someone's gonna turn it back on.
Yeah.
So I'm deathly afraid of fires. Yeah. So she and my mom has not got over that. Like my mom has not dealt with my grandmother's death. And even though that my grandmother was like a driving force in my life, my mother and my grandmother are very best friends. And my mother and my relationship changed after that because she wasn't the same. She lost her best friend. So death is definitely weird. It changes life, and you have to choose. Like everyone has a path they have to choose. Like, do I choose this? I'm going to make this for the better, like you did with your brother. Like I have to continue my life, or do I continue down the path that he was on?
Yeah.
That's true. Like you have to choose.
That is true. And yeah, that's deep. That is very deep.
Very deep.
I have to say, like, there are a lot of times when I think, like, it'll hit you sometimes in waves. Like, I will never, it was just he and I, basically. Like, it was he and I. I am a sister. I feel like I'll always be a sister because I was not on this world alone for, 27 of my years, which is hard sometimes. And sometimes I feel jealousy about other, sibling relationships.
So do I.
Yeah. Like, I will never have that. I will never, teeter around at my brother's house when we're retired and talk shit about people,
But is it weird that I have that jealousy my siblings are still alive?
No.
Because I look at my friend Mal and Megan and they're like best friends, like the best friends. And I'm jealous of that because I'm like, well, I thought I was your best friend because I'm a fucking weirdo. And I'm like, well, I have my sister, and I don't mean any disrespect to my sister, but we haven't had that
Yeah, because you're not, it's exactly like she's still alive, but there's not that kindred, that kinship there. Yeah. That bond. You're right. So it's like it doesn't exist. Yeah.
But I find it weird that, like, I was that young, like 10 and 15, with my father, who I didn't really care about, my grandmother, who meant the world to me, and it didn't, I don't want to say it didn't affect me, but I didn't feel like it affected me. Obviously, my therapists say differently. But who knows? But then I have my Uncle Ronald, who is my great Uncle Ronald, and he passed away probably when I was in my last year of grad school. So I was 26 maybe. And he passed away from lung cancer. So we knew it was coming. Like, and again, he was my great uncle. So he was 72, I think, when he passed. But that was the hardest death I ever, like, because I lived with him for a while, and he was my everything. He supported me through school. He called me all the time. He checked in on me. He made sure that I knew that I was important, because I never really had that growing up. Like, I never thought that I amounted to anything. And he made sure that I was important. And when he passed, it was really hard because I didn't have that Sunday check-in, or I didn't have that. And I think, and maybe that's why with my friends I get angry because he was that person who checked in on me, and my friends don't. So, and I haven't relayed that to them. So maybe that's a conversation I should have, and just say, he did this and I was expecting you to, but I never had that conversation. So
that might be pertinent.
Hello, maybe a conversation. And saying, can you fill his place?
Yeah. Can you meet my expectations that I haven't let you know about?
No, this is a realization. This is a good therapy podcast, because I was just like, that's
it's getting real deep.
That's a lot of it. I think that's a lot of it. So yeah, I think that's a problem that I haven't told my friends. I'm sure I've told them at some point that they know this, but probably why we fight a lot. What do you think, Ivy? Do you think
I'll be over here Sunday for pancakes?
Oh, my pancakes that I feed my dog?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Don't worry. Don't send PETA after me. The ingredients are dog approved.
You leave that fat baby alone.
Listen, my dog is a fat baby. The vet has said she needs to lose a little pounds, but I cannot stop giving her my pancakes in the morning because she just loves them. And she's a fat chihuahua, but she's a good chihuahua. She doesn't bark at you.
All I wanted was to come over here on Sunday because I live 5 minutes away. I'll make
you some pancakes if you want some pancakes, girl.
I do.
First of all, I just want to let everyone know that I just made us some coffee because Ivy wanted some black coffee because she's a black coffee drinker, and I have to have a little bit of sugar in mine.
Bitter.
And she just set a timer, and her timer just went off, and she said, oh, that was a timer I set to steep. And I said, so you didn't trust me?
A lot of things are unfolding today.
So she doesn't trust me.
Nope.
Yeah. But we're having our second cup of coffee today, which we typically do at work anyways. We always walk to Starbucks about 1 o'clock, and that's what time it is today because we've been podcasting for a little bit. Yeah, so I digress. I say I digress a lot. It's just, when I find a new word or a new phrase, I say it till it's played out. Kind of like when you play out a song. I just play it the fuck out.
Let's back up a little bit. What were you like in high school?
Oh, God. I don't even know what I was like because I think I had friends in every group, like the popular group, the emo group, but I kind of just was everywhere. I was everywhere. I was all over the place. I had friends in every group. I don't even know. Like, I don't think I was popular, no.
What did you see yourself as?
Basic AF.
What did you dream to be?
Popular AF. Isn't that what everyone dreams of? Like, to be popular in high school?
Probably so. And when it didn't work out.
I mean, I had popular friends that were on the cheerleading squad. But I also had friends that were not so popular that were like, I know Star Wars is popular now, but like back then it was not. And like I had friends that dress up like Star Wars character coming to high school. Not even lying. Even one of my teachers did. He was like real weird.
Have you noticed though a direct link between like being popular in high school and not so great of a person later on in life, and like the correlation between real goofy
just like in movies where like I've seen that correlation where people were super popular in high school but now like are maybe overweight or maybe not so popular or not so as cute. And I blossomed. I wasn't the cute kid in high school. I think I've had a glow up. I'm not saying I'm somatic gorgeous, but I'm just saying like in high school, like I definitely wasn't. Like I was a little chunky chunkster with some rabbit cheeksters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Kylie Jenner. Like she had a glow up.
She had a
hashtag filler up.
Cut up. Yeah.
No, but going back to the friendship conversation, like I think that's my issue more so than my friends, because I don't really talk about my past, and maybe I should, you know?
Or maybe we all just have to do a revamp of how we view friendships and what we need to do to be good friends. That could also be a conversation.
Yeah, because everyone's a prodigy of where they came from and their past. And I think that good friends will dive deeper into that and know that it's not personal. It's just coming from a place of hurting, I guess.
Yeah. And then it could be a time of rebirth. Like, oh, okay, you know, we are not the people we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now it's time to speak our truths and how we want to be friends. And so, you know, like set your basis, set your groundwork.
I agree. So, I mean, this has been a great conversation. This has been a great podcast. This has been a great therapy session, if you will. But I look forward to more conversations on the podcast with Ivy, and I hope y'all all lasted this long. And if you did, you're welcome. Dive deeper into my life. But anyways, I hope to see you next time on the next podcast, guys. Thanks for sticking with us this long and staying. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, goodbye. Till next time. See you later. Bye.